I'll give the countdown from 5. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. So here we are to discuss about today's paper of UPSC Prelims Exam 2025. So we have already done the discussion with respect to every question, what will be the probable answer, and the cutoff will be along the expected lines. But here in this video we will be discussing a little detail about the general trends of the paper. ठीक है, so let's start with the discussion key. So how was the overall paper in terms of its difficulty and the time the students would take for.
Alright, so if I trace it back for about a decade, what has happened in UPSC starting right from 2016, the paper was very easy, more than 45 questions from current affairs. The cutoff went to 127.33 or something, or 116.66. Since then, the cutoff has sort of shown a trend of decrease.
Correct.
Right, and it has gone to the level of below 80 as well. So round about 90 and then below 80, that is 78 as well. Correct. Because the question paper was sort of getting more difficult. Now here, with respect to this year's question, I believe UPSC is reselecting sort of a higher cutoff. So the cutoff this year probably would go higher than 78 or 80, which was ranging previously. Now as far as the difficulty level is concerned, it was on the expected lines. There were no out of the ordinary questions. Some of the questions actually tested your awareness. For example, the question on RTGS and NEFT. Now we make so many payments using mobile apps. So at times there is an option in the app whether you want to do RTGS or NEFT.
Correct.
So if a student pays attention, I have made a payment through this particular thing, but it took time. So you can solve the question there. So it was very practical question with respect to economy. In economy, so we drill in the detail, but generally speaking, the question paper from the last comparatively 2 years is easier. As far as the time taking is concerned, generally students do not face time issue in GS paper. There will be there in CSAT. In GS in an hour they can look at all the 100 questions and then they can come back again, revisit and then start marking the OMR sheet. So with respect to time, there is no such thing. However, some of the questions, especially in economy, required them to do some calculations.
Correct.
Now those calculations are also very easy.
Okay.
It's just that the person who is not good in mathematics should not be scared looking at those numbers. So you should trust UPSC that UPSC is not going to test you on mathematics in general studies. That CSAT is already there. So just stay calm and solve it. Time-wise, of course, it will be done very easily. In fact, I have told many of my students that if you finish quickly and your 10 minutes are still remaining, don't be attracted to solve more questions which you don't know.
Correct.
Still be very clear whether you know it or not, whether you have reduced two options or not, then only solve it, or else just keep quiet, keep revisiting and try to see if you actually know or not.
Correct.
So difficulty level-wise, I won't say it's too easy like that of 2016, 17 or 17, but it is not that difficult as 2023 for example.
Correct.
In 2023, UPSC has come up with options like only one statement is correct, only two statements.
So elimination
They did that in around 40 plus questions in 2023. In 2024, they brought down to 18. Now this year it's even lesser. So now again elimination has been reintroduced to the same extent that it was there in 2016 and 17. That also makes the question easy. You might have three statements. The moment you know one of them is incorrect, that too very logical statement, you can directly derive the answer over there. So I am expecting that the cutoff should go over than the previous 2 years.
Okay. Ma'am, one question to you. What can we expect? How many questions to be attempted is considered to be good attempt in this paper approximately?
See, based on this year's paper, and let's take the previous year, 24, 23 or 22, comparatively to that, this paper is rather very easy. Especially if I would be speaking from polity perspective, 2014 पे we've seen this question.
Oh my God.
2014 पे directly there was question on governor. The same thing is asked in just whatever the point 4.
So that again emphasizes the importance of previous year questions.
You can easily solve this year quality paper if you just practice previous year paper.
Oh, good.
Parliament question has come in 2016.
Correct.
The government question has come in 2014, but the statement of the 2014 question is the question of 2025 this year.
Oh.
So it has been very easy, and also, like sir mentioned about the elimination. Previously we had to teach them, yes, there is only one pair, two pairs, three pairs, so they have to be sure about all 4 options. This year they could easily eliminated. Just okay, 3 is wrong. Okay, I'm getting the answer.
Answer.
So it
Oh,
was very easy.
Okay,
It is
okay.
almost this kind of paper I've seen in 2016.
acha.
So comparatively, they can stretch the number of questions that they can answer. This year it is fairly, especially polity, there was not any question where they had to break their mind or think out of the logic. For example, they've asked question on ordinance. You don't even have to know much about, you simply have to know, Hacha, what is ordinance? If you just know that much, you can answer it. Even if you don't know the statements, because they've asked, now we have asked, mention about your explicit answers, where the answer of only this will be there, only parliament can do. So that the very basic, the students will know it just by looking at it. Those kind of questions are very higher in this year. Yes, so they can go for a stretch for more than 85 also.
Around 90 attempts, questions should have been attempted. Okay. Sir, overall weightage of current affairs, again the same thing UPSC has re-emphasized. When as a student, if I think about the current affairs part versus the static part. So current affairs is 12 months of magazine, or every magazine is a minimum of 200 pages. So वो पूरी magazine के list से I guess around 8 questions they have asked, 8 to 10 questions maximally. ठीक है? So that means 90 questions was from static. That is UPSC basically trying to teach us कि आप जो coaching के भरोसे बैठ रहे हो कि current affairs ही सब कुछ पढ़ा देगा, नहीं, that is not obviously the only way to clear the exam. If you are clear with the static portion and attending the classes very judiciously, because we have seen that so many questions from our classes have come up. So, is UPSC trying to emphasize that point on the static part?
Yes. So, first of all, generically, I will say what UPSC does is, in a particular year, it comes out with certain types of questions. Then next year onwards, people try to do what has already UPSC done. Right? You cannot outguess UPSC, you cannot guess UPSC.
Correct.
So what UPSC does, the student bases their preparation with respect to that. So now in 2018, there was a question about what is liberty. So 2019 onwards, students are reading political science theory books. It's not required. Now this current affairs, what happened in 2016, there were 45 questions of current affairs alone. But even, there was the highest number of questions in a particular year, but even then majority was static. So after that, what happens, every institute started coming up with our current affairs special test series, our current affairs special classes. Some of the institutes do that only. But since then, the number of current affairs questions has gone down from 45 in 2017, went down to 15 to 20. Then in 2018, 10. 2019 also, 2019-20 were papers wherein if you have not even done current affairs, you can still clear it. That is the decrease. Yes, definitely. So because in 2016, a lot of students just going through the magazine, through the institute notes, now it has realized some people don't have access to that, to the coaching, right? So it is going back to the static. Static was always the majority. Now it is even more emphasis on the static part. That is one thing. Second, to understand also in current affairs, you need to have your statics clear. And third thing, current affairs based questions are majorly asked in the mains examination with respect to what is happening. But even over there, UPSC has now done static part there also. So what they will ask, what is allelopathy? How does it impact the surrounding crop? Static question. They will ask with respect to what is happening with respect to GDP, but first they will ask you what is potential GDP. So there also they are now started testing your static. So here your static, your basics should be very clear.
Correct.
And I think this is the right step, because as far as current affairs is concerned, any officer doing their duties, the current affairs, they can make themselves aware of it. But static concepts, you should know to act, what you should do, what will happen, to take decisions. Right? So static, of course, I think it is back. But what I would say is, you never know what UPSC does tomorrow. We are talking probably that over here, and next year UPSC asks again 50 questions from current affairs. So what we should do is, do not overdo current affairs, do not underdo static, just follow one simple principle. Do each and every micro topic that is mentioned in UPSC syllabus. Don't leave anything, whether it's your strength or your weakness. If you think it's my weakness, I will leave you. UPSC may ask very simple questions from that. If you think this is my strength, I'll focus on this. UPSC may ask very difficult questions on that. Right? So yes, UPSC in the last 7-8 years have gone back to the static. And this trend, you can use this trend to move ahead. That's how we start our studies, through the Pareto principle, putting 20% efforts to get those 80% of the marks. But you have to still do the current affairs as well. However, that should be done after clearing your basics.
So, ma'am, talking about the trends, this looks like the 2011 to 15 wala trend of the UPSC itself. So that trauma that UPSC created in 2023 and 24 ka to theek hai, at least it is still easier than 23, but the trauma that was created by 2023, that has changed. Do we
Yes,
expect?
true. What you said was right. The word, when you use trauma, that is 100% correct.
Correct.
Because students were now like, previously at least they had a chance. Now at least there is a shot at elimination. But with this, one pair, two pair, three pair, there is no shot. We have to know everything or know nothing.
Correct.
So that left us with 50-50. There was nothing in between. Either I go all in or I come out.
Correct.
Whereas this year, no, the mentioning, previously you mentioned about your static questions. If I have to name polity, I can just name it like president, parliament, ordinance, schedules, 10th schedule, anti-defection, and the current affair from polity. They've asked two questions. One was on the minerals, and that was very basic, direct 2023 current affair. Rajya Sabha, what bill it introduced. Yeah, it was just on that, and one more is the boards thing. So, and also the boards ka questions, the way they've asked, the answers are just jumbled up. If you just look at the words, you can see. For example, they've asked a question on choir industry, and they put that it belongs to Department of Heavy Automobiles. Right below it, it's given Department of MSME. So, just with that wording, you're able to identify, this choir industry is there. Okay, this is MSME. It is wrongly marked. So, two options are eliminated directly. Then they have to just see one more option. So, it is very easy to eliminate. This version, if you see more of Polity Pay, 2014 questions, 2011 questions, 2016 questions, you didn't have to even worry much in the topics like I mentioned, 10th schedule, speaker ka question. The questions are very outright simple.
And the topics also very popular topics only.
Also very, for example, the governor topic, it is still in current affairs. They've asked the question on the governor topic.
They don't need to delve deeper into Lakshmikant also.
They don't have to even dwell deep into Lakshmikant. If they've just been aware, and these are not like even the core polity topics. These are like basic speaker, chairman, defection, Lokayukta, Lokpal. So these kind of topics, just even the gist if you know, you were able to answer it very well. So this didn't have anything of your 2023 sorts. This was easily solvable. Compared to 2023, this is a goldmine paper. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So talking about the subject specific questions, I have one more question for you, Taha sir. Before we enter into subject specific questions, one trend that I observe has changed is sports. ठीक है, एक तो क्रिकेट ही अपने आप में very new to UPSC. So one question that they had asked with respect to World Test cricket, now they have started asking about non-cricket sports. So do you think students should now study about sports also?
What I think is, it's a very easy thing that whenever you're doing anything in UPSC, you can say that I'm studying, even if you're watching sports. That is the concept. But of course, you can't waste time in that. But at least some big news you should know. For example, in 2020, when the question on Test Cricket Championship was asked, it was for the first time that it was being held. So you should know that. Now, this Kho-Kho. Now, Kho-Kho is, India has been playing it traditionally. Now, its World Cup is there. And the women and men both has been won by India. So, it's also a big thing. So, you should know that. And of course, the sports questions have not been that frequent, but UPSC has been asking that. UPSC in mains have asked about the DRS system in cricket. It has asked about the checkered flag in Formula 1, different kinds of flags in Formula 1. So after every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you see the question. Now in 2020, UPSC asked about Cricket Test Championship and Olympics. Now they have again 4 years after they have asked it. So maybe for the next 2, 3 years, they can rest. But after that, they can again prepare. So I would suggest don't read everyday sports news. That's not useful. But if India has some scheme, let's say we want to, there have been essays in UPSC, can India achieve 50 Olympic gold medals or these many Olympic gold medals? So if India has Khelo India scheme, so yes. So with respect to that, and if India is bringing up something or hosting something, now India hosted the Kho-Kho World Cup, so that becomes important, right? So if India is doing something like that, that you should focus, that bare minimum is required. Now Gukesh has won the championship. He became chess champion. So that becomes important. Throughout we knew it. And what UPSC did is ask a question which would attract you to mark wrong. They asked whether he defeated a Russian, because Russians are very good in chess. So you may guess it, but he defeated a Chinese over there. And another Mr. Mishra, he was the youngest champion. So there that question has been asked. So it becomes, Gukesh everyone knows. So at least you can be left with 2 options if you know that. So you don't have to delve too deep into it, but superficially you should know what are the championship that goes on, who has won the major things, the Grand Slams. Now maybe a great player like Djokovic will retire, so maybe related to tennis a question may come. So this generic thing from the bird's eye view you should know. Don't delve into too deep. Why? Because this is comparative. If a serious aspirant doesn't know it, more likely others have also not known it. But it is very important for you to solve the easy questions, right?
Okay. So, ma'am, about delving into the subject-wise details, so approximately 15-16 questions have been asked in UPSC from Polity. So, how many questions were there out of these 15-16 questions, which was very easy to solve? Matlab, if I try to eliminate the difficulty level questions, out of 15-16 questions, how many questions the student should have attempted?
Almost, if you see, out of the 16 questions, there were not questions which needed analytical thinking. Okay. So, see, if I could just put up a number and tell, yeah, 14, 15, so it was easier, but almost all of them were solvable. Okay. Even if you didn't know the content, just through elimination, you were easily able to solve. Now, for example, we discussed it in the live also. Even if you didn't know the topic, let's assume for the Lokpal, they have asked certain questions which are so much easily answerable just by elimination.
So, calm mind, say the candidate had to read the question.
Yes, yes. If you were able to, the same thing like how we used to initially teach them, the MCQs, see this 2, if you eliminate, you're going to get the other 2. It was that easier relatively compared to the previous years. Or even if you see your 2019 or 2020 paper, a little bit of analytical questions were also asked from polity perspective. But whereas in 2023-24, there were no such questions that you had to analyze it. You just have to read the question.
It was a fact based.
And it was also in such a manner that your second options were contradicting the first options.
Oh, okay.
So it raised a lot of red flags. So just with these tips and tricks, you could easily solve almost all the questions. Okay, if I would even take out a current affair also, 14 to minimum, it is very easily solvable.
Okay. But one thing ki the student should have slept well, proper rest, or calm mind nahi rahega, so in that case it might be different. So your opinion about economics and history?
Yes. So start with economics. So in economics, around 16 questions, including the current affairs, were there. But the core static part of economics has around 10 to 12 questions, right? Now, one thing that I would like to point out here is, with respect to set B, question number 71. Now, in my class, whenever I explain fiscal deficit, primary deficit, I always solve a problem with respect to if this is the amount of fiscal deficit, this is the interest payment, this is the expenditure, this is non-debt creating capital receipt, then what will be fiscal deficit? So that I have always thought that if you can solve a problem on something, you will be conceptually very clear. And I also told my students, probably UPSC can give you a question which will have very easy mathematical calculation, but they are trying to check your concepts. And that is exactly what UPSC has done. Question number 71 and question number 75 are exactly about that. It's very easy. Just the student should not see the number and get confused. In question 75, they have added another information to confuse the student, which is not even required. Right, so they can simply get the primary deficit by subtracting interest payment from fiscal deficit. There is no need for something else which they have given. However, I would also like to point one thing. In 2024's prelims paper, whose key UPSC has released just recently, they have dropped 3 questions. One question was probably wrong and the other 3 questions were dropped. So as per my economics knowledge and opinion, probably question number 71st can also be dropped. The reason being, they have given you the revenue expenditure, the revenue receipt, the borrowings and the interest payment, and they have asked you 3 things: revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit. Now you can calculate the revenue deficit from that, but you cannot calculate fiscal deficit because you should know what is my capital receipt, what is my capital expenditure. You have not given that. You have just given me the borrowings. So from that, to still answer this question, then I will have to assume that the government is going for 100% fiscal deficit financing. If I assume that, then all statements come out to be true. But why should I assume that? You have not mentioned it. right? So if I'm assuming all three statements are correct, if I'm not assuming, I cannot get the other two. So do you expect me to assume an answer? If yes, all three are correct, but UPSC may not. Yes. So probably this question can be dropped. If you still ask me, three options, both our statements are correct, so option D should be there, but possibly this question is going to get dropped, right? So students should probably not worry about it. At the same time, if you look at the other questions, they were on the expected lines. You were easily able to eliminate, for example, the 15. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to cut you through, sir. But I have one question to tell you. Question number 57 related to BRICS.
Yes.
This was a very interesting question. Very, very different way UPSC has asked this question.
Yes.
BRICS meeting took place in Kazan, Russia. All of that is correct. We have discussed it in classes also.
Correct.
We have solved it in our test series also. Indonesia has become the full-time member. So statement 1 and 2 was not confusing at all. But the statement 3. This was very interesting part, that multiculturalism they have written in this question statement, and the theme was multilateralism. So by turning that one term, they have, ek to pehle to theme based questions they usually don't ask. I remember was World Wetland Day वगैरह का themes पूछते थे. So now they have asked this, and a simple term they have changed. So this might, ये questions ऐसे होंगे कि the student might be expecting that they will be answered, they have answered it correctly, and they will later on get to know that it might not be correct.
So ma'am, the thing that I can suggest over here is what can be done by the student. I always advise the student that when you are having free time, do one thing, visit all the international bodies that are important, visit their website, understand what they are doing, visit the ministry website, visit the website of the ministry with respect to the different schemes, and understand their objectives. Because UPSC copy paste the statements from there. They take the statement, put it there, change one word, and then ask you. That is one thing. Second giveaway, which what I can see is they are saying for just global development. Now, just is a very vague sentence. Why would I use just? If I have to frame something that I am doing with respect to only one thing, I will say we will be focused or specialized in this. We will not say just this. So it's a very casual way of framing that question also. So a student who has solved previous year questions, the framing of the questions, the wording of the questions will understand that this is a very casual statement that you are making.
Plus the options were also something similar, sir. First and second statement every student knows, sure. Third statement is a statement. If they have to make any changes, they will be making changes to that statement only. So maybe that might have been. With respect to geography, sir, I have one question. They have asked unconventional places. Usually they have asked questions with respect to the places which were in news. But ये क्या है, Sardinia? They are asking.
So till previously, it was very easy to tell the students that whatever region is in news, Syria is in news, Middle East is always in news. Something or the other is happening. So in that, any place that comes in, you should know it. You know, it is internationally important, so you should know it. You know, the Gaza Strip, it borders what, you should know it. So that kind of places were asked. If some place like South Sudan, there is civil rebellion going on, so you should know it. Those kind of questions have been asked. But now, basically, I believe now is the time to start reading maps holistically and generally region by region. So now students should probably pick European region, so study that. Right? Pick some other region, even if it is not in news, study that. Right? Because now it's very let's say static or a factual question, because it is very common. We might have a Normandy, but we just hear Normandy, we don't know which region it's a part of. So I think now it is advisable to, of course, take into account what places are in news and delve specifically into that, but also complete your entire atlas region by region. So every week they should have, today I will cover this region, today I will cover this region. So whatever is important thing, know that, right? But since it is comparative, if they ask too much in depth, you may not know it, but Normandy is quite famous. You don't know the region, but you might have heard the name Normandy. So now it's time to go back to the basics and cover the atlas one by one.
They have asked a question on Andes also. I saw one, which of the countries say Andes passes through.
Yes.
And they have asked very specific questions which are very in close proximity to Andes also. So that also emphasizes
so
sitting with atlas.
Where the student needs to focus. For example, if I ask which countries do India border, India also borders Afghanistan, right? Because Pakistan occupied Kashmir is a sovereign and integral part of India. So that is the option that is going to help you. So these nuances is what is going to help you. So your approach should be there. Everyone else will know Bangladesh, Pakistan, China, but Afghanistan, you should know that, right?
We spoke about the trends also. So, ma'am, can you give us some idea about the preparation strategy in future? First question that I want to know, because from all the students whom I meet, they have this question, basic question, ki, that lack of belief in self, because I have given only 1 year to this exam preparation. So you think that I will be able, that's the most common question. Do you think I should drop this year and then restart? What should be the preparation strategy? Is it possible to do it in 1 year or not, given this kind of paper?
Ma'am, I have got a lot of students who come tell me, ma'am, I've just now started the coaching. This pura year I'll prepare with the syllabus, everything. This year I will not give, I will see the prelims paper this year. The next year, because either way just now I've finished the preparation. Now say if I start seriously based on some idea of the paper, then only I'll be able to give. So it is almost like that 1 year plus another year that they will give, and it's a 1 year preparation. So almost 3 years gets gone in that. Now, ma'am, I'll just highlight, because you spoke about your multiculturalism, multilateralism, there is a simple question that they have asked, which is about your 10th, this is Pasect B ka, 58th question. It's about the Lokpal. They have asked in such a manner that you don't even have to know much about Lokpal. Now, for example, Lokpal is, we will be doing your topics, your Supreme Court, judiciary, and then we will speak about your constitutional body, non-constitutional body, statutory bodies. So, even if you don't know that, with this Lokpal itself, you can answer. Now, just look at the first statement, I will read it out to you. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India, but not to the Indian public servants posted outside India. There is just a wordplay. Public servants of India, Indian public servants. That itself is showcasing that they are Indian public servants only, whether they are inside or outside. How is it that whether, now if, I have mentioned this in the question discussion also, if you are serving, let's say in Norway, will you become a public servant of Norway, or are you still public servant of India? What applies to India, Indian public officials applies to you. You don't need to know much about this to answer this statement. And if you eliminate one in that, okay, that entire option gets eliminated. So then you can just go for the remaining options. And also see the second question of the same Lokpal. The chairperson or a member shall not be a MP or a MLA, all that fine. And only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. This concept of this only, this we have been teaching, it's like as if ABCDs of UPSCs. They have asked, yeah, exactly. If you just eliminate that, it's gone. That only itself is a trigger for telling that no, this is not an option. Why will it be only one person? Especially in a democratic country like India, you cannot use the words only. And for the amount of our population, for the amount of our changes that we do, yes, do you think that only concepts specifically apply? That is like ABCDs. And another question you spoke about multilateralism, multiculturalism, they've just changed one word. Same way they've asked a question on defection, 10th schedule. They have copy pasted the entire statement from Polity. That is the first thing about your 10th schedule we teach. The only thing is, instead of speaker, they have put president. And that is very basic, that when we teach defection, that is the first thing we teach. So that one word, if you eliminate, that's it, you have the answer. So there are questions where like this paper, it doesn't have to be that you have to go through 1 year of preparation and then again you have to wait for 1 more year, prepare and then give. So this paper is almost like any beginner who has put in a good amount of hard work. I wouldn't say any beginner can answer this. Any beginner who has put in good amount of decent amount of hard work can definitely answer these questions.
Okay. If I talk about my subject, especially environment and science sector and technology, they have asked one different kind of questions this time. Usually earlier they used to ask only statement 1 and statement 2 and whether 2 is the correct explanation of 1 or not. So this time they have asked, I guess, so many questions, yes, 4, 5 questions also.
In fact, the 3 questions that they have dropped from Prelims 2024, 2 of them had these 3 statements. Yes. So even UPSC got confused.
So that they have done to science and technology and environment here also. whether both of them is giving an explanation of one or only one of them is giving an explanation. So maybe that is one change in trend, that they are trying to increase the difficulty of the paper, just that the trend has changed, so the students might get confused. But if the student has clarity of the concept, though the questions from environment, science and technology, science so especially was pure factual information, but environment though they could have easily analyzed and answered those questions. Okay, so that was all. That was all the questions that I had. Thank you so much. Any just one last question, if I can ask, what will be the approximate cutoff?
Yes,
approximately.
so we have had a discussion about this specifically with respect to Pawan sir, who have been guessing cutoffs absolutely spot on since years. So subsequent to the discussion and inputs from everyone, so we believe that cutoff had successfully gone down. It went down to 78 also, but this year there is a resurrection of cutoff. It will increase, so probably it can be anywhere slightly above 87. So 87 touching 90 probably can be the case. But however, any students who is getting round about that should start preparing for mains. Even if you are getting 80, please start preparing for mains. Don't wait for the results. But with our logical or experienced guess, maybe 87 plus will be the cutoff.
Beyond 90 it will not.
Not necessarily. Why? Because even though the question was on the expected lines, a lot of students can be taken aback just by looking at the numbers and figures in economic question. Though it is very easy, but there are so many numbers, what to do, so mathematics, I don't know maths, so they get fear. If you are not fearful, you can solve it. But that kind of a fear, because I remember in 2019 when there was a CSAT paper, the paper was easy, but what they did is 15 questions were based on graph. Now in graph, the question answer is already there, but the student got confused. My God, this is not the pattern I follow, so it's completely different. So might be difficult. So that kind of a thing can happen over here, which might bring down the cutoff a bit, but it will be more than the previous 2 years. So 87 and beyond is what we can expect over here, and possibly also because I believe UPSC may drop one question. So we are asking about from 99 questions is what I think.
So let's be hopeful about students clearing the exam.
Possibly yes, because everything can simply be done from the class notes, the class lectures, even these calculation based questions. That's how we teach over here, because once you're able to solve that problem, your concepts are absolutely spot on. And I have always told my students that there is a possibility UPSC will do that, and this year they have done exactly that.
On the whole, I'm very happy with my polity paper because the first thing we used to tell that is, like I mentioned, defection play. This is the speaker or chairman, not the president, not the president. The way we used to tell is the same way the question paper has come. Yeah, so this is a very, personally for me, polity paper for me is a very, explicitly when I tell, this is it, they might ask this is not this. So we may specifically made them right below, defection, who will decide is the speaker or the chairman of the house, not president, not governor, not. So we made sure in the class notes, we will not mention as to who did this, but who will not come in this category. Yeah, on that front, I'm extremely happy with the paper.
Yeah, similarly, some questions looked factual, like who decides Gandhi Peace Prize? They look factual, they are not, because if you generally think that there is a committee that is being formed who will decide something or someone or nominate someone, president is not included. But what is included? If I generally have to guess, I will say the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and the other three options were this. And the moment you eliminate president, you are left with only one option. So it is a very generic. The Gandhi Peace Prize is making specific, but these are the kind of people involved in the committees who suggest or nominate some people.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much for your feedback. I wish the questions, most of the students will be able to clear the exam. Thank you so much. Thank you.